Welcome you all. Myself Sarita Yadav. Once again, welcome you all to online education of BMC Education Department. Students, we are going to continue with our subject Science 2 and with our topic of animal classification. Okay. Now, see, in the previous session, we had finished with the phylum non-chordates. So, we are going to study about phylum Chordata in today's session. Okay. Now, you know subkingdom chordates. All the chordates are included in this subkingdom. Okay. So all the chordates, uh, the subkingdom chordate is further divided into the phylum called Chordata. Okay, the same name as the subkingdom. So we are going to start with phylum Chordata. Okay, now what are the characteristics? See the first point, the animals in this phylum, they have supporting notochord in their body. Okay, so notochord is present in the body during at least any developmental stage. Okay, it can be larval stage, it can be later on or throughout. Second characteristics, pharyngeal gill slits are present in the body during at least any developmental stage. Okay, see, we have studied this characteristic when we were doing the classification of animal kingdom, so we are just repeating it. Okay, now you know pharyngeal gill slits, it is for respiration. Third characteristic, see, nerve cord. Nerve cord is present on dorsal side of the body. So where is the nerve cord? You can see in the diagram, isn't it? Then fourth characteristic, single tubular spinal cord is present on the dorsal side of the body. Okay, so that is the one of the main characteristics. What is spinal cord? It's a long thin tubular structure. Okay, it is made up of nervous tissues and spinal nerves, which extends from where medulla oblongata to vertebral column. And last one, see, heart. Heart is present on ventral side of the body. Okay, so if heart is present, that is where on ventral side, dorsal is here up. Okay, so got, these are the few characteristics of phylum Chordata. Once again, I'll repeat. See, notochord. Notochord, it's a longitudinal flexible rod which provides flexible skeletal support. Okay, so notochord is present. Dorsal hollow nerve cord. Nerve cord is present, okay, which is on the dorsal side, and it develops into central nervous system, that is brain and spinal cord. Then pharyngeal gill slits or clefts, the grooves that develop into slits that open to the outside of body, which is used in gas exchange and feeding. And one of the other characteristics is muscular post anal tail. Okay, so you can see in the picture also a tail extending posterior to the anus that contains skeletal elements and muscles, and it also helps for propelling force in aquatic species. So these are the few characteristics of chordates, main characteristics of phylum Chordata. Now see how the phylum Chordata is classified. Now you can see in this chart, phylum Chordata, it is divided into three subphylums. Okay, three subphylums, namely Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. See, okay, once again pay attention. Phylum Chordata is divided into three subphylums, namely Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Now see further, the subphylum Vertebrata, okay, it is divided into six classes, namely Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. See, understand the classification, so it will be easier for you to study. Okay, phylum Chordata is divided into three subphylums. What are the names? Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Subphylum Vertebrata is divided into six classes, namely Cyclostomata, Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. So now we are going to study one by one each subphylum and further their characteristic and example. As you can see in the chart, the phylum Chordata, see the first subphylum is Urochordata. So we are going to start with subphylum Urochordata. Okay, now see the characteristics. These are marine animals. Okay, so till we have studied about characteristic of various phylum, isn't it? So we are already acquainted what is the meaning of marine. Marine means these animals are found in ocean or sea water or salty water. Next characteristic, see, their body is covered by skin like test or tunic. See, you can see in the picture. Okay, you can see the body, it is covered with a, you can see this tunic, it's with a covering, isn't it? This outer covering, that is skin, that is called skin like, that is skin like covering, which is called tunic or test, T-E-S-T. Got it? Now Urochordata, because of this tunic, okay, they are also called as tunicata or tunicates, another name for Urochordata. Now the term tunicate has been derived from the unique outer covering or tunic. Okay, that unique outer covering which is called tunic, that's why it is also called as tunicates. The tunic is formed from proteins and carbohydrate. The tunic act as an exoskeleton, outer covering on the skin. That's why exoskeleton. It gives its protection. Okay. The tunic is also referred as test. As I said, tunic is also called as test. Next characteristic, see, larvae of these animals are freely swimming. Okay, as these are found in marine water, they are freely swimming, and notochord is present only in tail region of larvae. Got it? So not in adult species, not in adult, okay, form. In larvae form, notochord is present only in tail region. Can you see this in the picture? Okay, in this pic, only in the tail region you can find out the you can see the notochord. So that's why they are called as Urochordata. Okay, so you have to remember notochord is present only in tail region of the larvae. Hence, they are called as Urochordata. See the next characteristics. Larvae metamorphose into adults after settling down at the bottom of the sea. Okay, so what happens? See, the larvae of the Urochordata animals, of the subphylum Urochordata, how it looks? It looks like tadpole. Okay, and they are far more obviously members of the phylum Chordata than the adults. As we already discussed, notochord is found in the tail region. Tunicate larvae do not feed but search for a suitable location on the sea floor and then settle in a head down position. They attach themselves to the sea floor using special adhesive glands in front of their head. Got it? See in the picture you can see what happens. This larvae, it is freely swimming. Okay, freely they are freely swimming. So what happened? They try to find out an suitable location, okay, on the sea floor, and they settle over there. They attach themselves with the head down position. Okay, then once settled, they undergo metamorphosis, and during that metamorphosis, what happens? They lose their tail and their ability to swim. Got it? So metamorphosis, there are some developmental changes taking in there. due to which they lose their tail, and because of that they are also losing their ability to swim. Okay, then the remainder of the body twists through 180 degrees in order to become a small tunicate. Most tunicates live about 1 year as adult. Okay, so their life cycle is mostly around of adult is around of 1 year. Okay, so you have to remember the larvae metamorphose into adults after settling down at the bottom of the sea. Now see what is metamorphosis. Okay, it is defined as a change into something new or the process of transformation from an immature form to an adult form in two or more distinct stages. So you have seen metamorphosis in frog also. Okay, the larvae changes into an adult frog. Then you have seen in butterfly also how caterpillar changes into an butterfly, isn't it? So metamorphosis, that change which is taking place from larvae to adult form, in which the adult form is completely different, isn't it, from the larvae, that is called metamorphosis. Now moving on to next characteristic. See, generally these animals are hermaphrodite. Okay, hermaphrodite, already we know male and female reproductive systems are present in the same animal body. See the examples: Herdmania, Doliolum, and Oikopleura. Okay, these are the three examples of subphylum Urochordata. You can practice the diagram of Herdmania. It's also given in your textbook. Got it? So this was about the subphylum Urochordata. After subphylum Urochordata, which was the second subphylum? The second subphylum was Cephalochordata, isn't it? So now see what are the characteristics of subphylum Cephalochordata. These are small fish-like marine animals. You can see in the picture how they look. They look like very small fish-like animals, isn't it? So they are fish-like, small and marine animals. That means they are found in salty water, either sea, oceans, etc. Second characteristics, notochord is present throughout the body. See, in Urochordata, notochord was present in larvae tail region, isn't it? But in case of subphylum Cephalochordata, notochord is present throughout the body length. Okay. Third one, pharynx is very large and contain gill slits. Okay, so again, gill slit is there for respiration. These animals are unisexual. Okay, so sexes are different, male and female. Now, subphylum Cephalochordata, as we had discussed, see, Urochordata, another name was tunicates because of tunic, isn't it? Special covering of tunic. Cephalochordata is also known as lancelet. Another common name is lancelet. These are the earliest diverging group of chordates. And they get their name lancelet from why? Because of their blade like shape. You can see blade like shape is there. So that's why the name lancelet. Okay. Now in this, see, embryos develop a notochord, a dorsal hollow nerve cord, pharyngeal gill slits, and post-anal tail is present. They are filter feeders. Okay, now what happens? Cilia, you can see this in the picture, you can see the fine hair like structure cilia. What it does, it draw water into the mouth. Okay, it swim like fishes. Chevron shaped muscles on either side of the notochord is present. You can see in the picture. Okay, now see the next example. Okay, so mostly example only you have to study is Amphioxus and its diagram. Okay, now you can see in the diagram, picture is here, diagram you can see. Okay, this is the oral hood with tentacles, notochord. Okay, nerve cord on the dorsal side, So dorsal nerve cord, this is intestine, this is anus, okay, atrium is there, your gonads are present, and this is gill slits, okay. So you have to practice the diagram of Amphioxus. This was about subphylum Cephalochordata. Now the next subphylum which we are going to study. The third subphylum of phylum Chordata was Vertebrata. Another name Craniata. Okay. Now Vertebrata or Craniata. What are the characteristics? See. In these animals, okay, vertebrates. The animals included in the subphylum are called vertebrates. Okay. So vertebrates have strong supporting structure which is called the backbone by replacing the notochord. Okay, so notochord is replaced by backbone. Okay, backbone is made up of individual segments called vertebrae. For this character, this subphylum is called Vertebrata. Okay, now you can see here. Okay, this vertebral column is there. Okay, and this in vertebral column, each individual segment is called vertebrae. Okay, then presence of skull or cranium. That's why, see what happens in vertebrates. Okay, cranium is present, skull is there, brain is protected by cranium. That's why it is also called as craniata. Head is well developed. Okay, we have as you might have understood, we humans are included in vertebrata. Okay, so the vertebrates, all the vertebrates, they have very well developed head, and the brain is protected by cranium. You can see this covering. Okay, that is called cranium. Got it? So remember, notochord is replaced by vertebral column. Okay, vertebral column is made up of many individual segments called vertebrae. So that's why the name vertebrata. Okay, then brain, where we in these animals have very well developed head, and brain is protected by cranium. So that's why it is called craniata. Got it? Now see another characteristic. Dorsal hollow nerve cord becomes spinal cord, and bones or cartilage surround the spinal cord. Got it? See what happens? The nerve cord notochord is getting replaced by vertebral column. Similarly, the nerve cord, it becomes spinal cord, and it is surrounded by bones or cartilage. Okay, for protection. Unlike invertebrates, which have exoskeleton, vertebrates have endoskeleton. Okay, endoskeleton. And that endoskeleton continues to grow along with animal and contains living material. Got it? This is another characteristic. And body is divisible into head, trunk, and tail of the vertebrates. Now see here, as I said, endoskeleton, okay, is either cartilaginous or bony. Now what is endoskeleton? See, endoskeleton is an internal skeleton composed of hard mineralized tissues that also enables movement by attachment to muscles. Okay. Now, for example, if we consider ourselves, we have an internal skeleton, isn't it? So our, that is endoskeleton. An endoskeleton, it is an internal skeleton, and it is composed of what? Hard mineralized tissues. Okay. Now this endoskeleton in vertebrates can be cartilaginous or bony. Two types. Now see next characteristic. Some chordates are jawless. Okay. They do not have jaw. So they are included in the superclass Agnatha. Whereas some are with jaws. Okay, they have jaws, upper jaw and lower jaw. So they are included in Gnathostomata. Got it? So understand what is Agnatha. Agnatha is a superclass of jawless fishes in the phylum Chordata, subphylum Vertebrata, consisting of both present and extinct species. So you have to remember, okay, the chordates which do not have jaws, okay, especially jawless fishes, they are included in Agnatha. And Gnathostomata, you can see they have jaws, okay, upper jaw and lower jaw. So they are included in Gnathostomata. Got it? So these are the few characteristics of subphylum Vertebrata or Craniata. Now, as I discussed or said earlier, subphylum Vertebrata or Craniata is divided into 6 classes. Class Cyclostomata, class Pisces, class Amphibia, class Reptilia, class Aves, and class Mammalia. Okay? So we are going to study about each classes and their characteristics. Let's begin with the first class in the subphylum Vertebrata. Okay? Class Cyclostomata. Now you can see in class Cyclostomata, okay, these animals have jawless mouth provided with sucker. You can see here in the picture, okay, they do not have jaws. Instead, what they have? Sucker. Okay, their skin is soft and without any scale. See, you can see the skin how it is soft and smooth. No scales are present. Pair appendages are absent. Okay, they do not have appendages. Paired appendages are not there. Okay, endoskeleton is cartilaginous. That means what? The internal skeletal network, okay, or skeletal framework, it is made up of cartilage. Now what is cartilage? See, cartilage is like bones. They are strong, flexible, but not as rigid as bones. Okay, so this endoskeleton is made up of cartilage. It's a type of connective tissues. Most of the animals are ectoparasites. Okay, see, you can see here what happens. This, they are ectoparasites. So they, what they do, they cling or attach itself to other fishes, turtles, with the help of their suctorial mouth, with the help of their suckers, and then they uh, derive nutrition from by sucking the blood of the fishes and turtles. Okay, so you have to remember they are ectoparasites. You can see more information. It is rather unpleasant animal. The larval phase is freshwater, sedentary, and filter feeding. The adults live in sea and external as an external parasite on fishes. As I said, what happens? They cling to fishes, turtles with its powerful suctorial mouth and cut the scales and skin using their teeth to get to the blood and body fluid and secreting an anticoagulant onto the tissue. See what happens due to this anticoagulant, now their blood does not coagulate. Okay, so it is they are able to suck the blood from the fishes. See the examples of class Cyclostomata. Example is Petromyzin. Okay, once again, diagram, practice the diagram of Petromyzin. And the another example is Myxin or Myxine. You can see the pic. So this was about class Cyclostomata. Now next class which we are going to study is the second class of subphylum Vertebrata. Okay, the second class name is Pisces. Okay, now these are cold-blooded. aquatic animals living in marine and fresh water. Okay, so what is the meaning of, or what do you mean by cold blooded or poikilotherms? See, cold blooded animals, what happens, they are not able to maintain a nearly constant body temperature. Okay, that means what, if there is change in the temperature of the environment, even their body temperature changes. Okay, so that's why they are called as cold blooded animals. Examples are fish. Okay, in the class spices, mostly fish, the fishes are included. Okay, so see, poikilotherms, it denoting animals whose body temperature varies with that of environment. Got it? So you have to understand the meaning of cold blooded. That means these animals, they are not able to regulate or maintain a constant body temperature. Their body temperature changes along with the changes in the environment. That's why they are called as cold blooded or poikilotherms. Now see, how is the body? How is the body shape? Okay, body is spindle shape to minimize water resistance. Okay, if you have seen about fishes, how is their body shape? It is spindle shape. What is spindle shape? See, spindle shape means it is narrow, okay, at both ends. See, at the ends you can see it is narrow and broad in the middle. Okay, so this is this is spindle shape. Okay, streamline is like a flat body structure. So streamline spindle shaped body which is covered with scales. Due to this, what happens? It offers the least resistance to the flow of water and makes their swim easier. Okay, so most of the aquatic animals are streamlined. A streamlined body shape is one that is narrow at both ends and broad in the middle. Due to this shape, what happens? It enables the animals to swim faster. What are the examples? See, fishes, penguin, dolphin. Okay, so aquatic animals. Okay, this animal need to swim fast to catch their prey or swim away from predators to avoid being eaten. So because of their body shape, they are able to do so. Next characteristic, see, they have paired and unpaired fins for swimming. Okay, and tail fin is useful as a steering organ during swimming. Now you can see here in the pic, different types of fins are there. Okay, see, this is the dorsal fin, the tail fin, which is also called caudal fin. Okay, then anal fin is there, pelvic fin is there, pectoral fin is there. So these fishes, they have paired fins also, unpaired fins also. What are the paired fins? You can see here, pectoral and pelvic. Okay, see, this is the pectoral. So these are the paired, that means they are present in pairs. Okay, pelvic also, this side and on the other side, they are present in pairs. Okay, then there are unpaired fins also, that means they do not have pairs, singly they are present. Then that these different types of fin, okay, they are useful for different function. You have to remember, caudal fin, which is also called as tail fin, it is useful as a steering organ. Okay, so it helps the fish to change the direction while swimming forward. Next characteristic, exoskeleton is in the form of scales and endoskeleton is either cartilaginous or bony. Okay, now exoskeleton, see what happens. These animals, their outer covering on the skin, exoskeleton, it is made up of scales, in the form of scales. Okay. Now what is scales? Scales are generally hard protective outermost layer of many vertebrates. Got it? They also act as an exoskeleton in many organisms. Now, talking about endoskeleton, it can be cartilaginous or bony. Okay, cartilaginous means it is made up of cartilage, and bony means it is made up of bones. Okay, now for example, shark's internal skeleton, okay, endoskeleton is made up of cartilage. Not a single bone is present in shark. It is entirely made up of cartilage. Whereas if we consider about other fishes like rohu and all, their endoskeleton is bony. That means it is made up of bones. See the next, respiration. Okay, how do this organism respire? Respiration occurs with gills. You can see in this picture. Okay, gills are present. Now, fishes use their gills to exchange gases by pulling oxygen rich water in through their mouth, pumping it over the gill filaments, and pushing oxygen poor water out through opening in the sides of the pharynx. Okay, so what happens? Through mouth, water, which is oxygen rich, okay, oxygen is present in greater amount, it enters into their body. Over the gill filaments, what happens? The oxygen is absorbed by the blood of the animals, and then the oxygen poor water, that means in that water now oxygen is depleted or very less, that is thrown out or flow out through gills again. Got it? So this is how respiration occurs in fishes. You can see the various examples of class spices: rohu, pomfret, shark, stingray, seahorse, electric ray, and scoliodon, dogfish. Practice this diagram of dogfish. Okay, as this diagram is also given in your textbook, you have to practice it. Okay, so it is not necessary you have to write these names only. Okay, there are many fishes, so you can give various examples. Got it? The next one, see the next characteristic of next class of subphylum vertebrata, which we are going to study, is amphibia. Okay, through the picture you will get you have got an idea what we are going to study, isn't it? Now see class amphibia. Now, these animals are strictly aquatic during larval life and perform only aquatic respiration. Okay, so during the earlier stage of development, that is during the larval life, these animals are strictly aquatic, that means they are found in water. Okay, and that's why they are performing only aquatic respiration. Now, these animals can live in water as well as on land. So, that's why they are called amphibians, because they are able to live on land also and on water also. As they can live in water as well as on land during adult life, and can perform aquatic as well as aerial respiration. Okay, so you have to remember amphibians, they are able to live in water also, they are able to live on land also. When they are when they are in water, they are performing aquatic respiration, especially during larval life. Okay, but as during adult life they can live water also and on land also. So when they are in water, they are performing aquatic respiration. When they are on land, they are performing aerial respiration. Now you can see in the pics, okay, baby amphibians, that is larvals, they breathe through their gills, okay, but adults, they breathe through their lungs and skin. Got it? And as this amphibians, they grow into develop, they develop into adult, they lose their gills and develop lungs, okay, and oxygen and carbon dioxide is also exchanged through their skin. Got it? So that's why it is said they are able to breathe through lungs also, and they are able to perform the respiration with the help of skin also. Next, they have two pair of appendages. Can you see? In the pig, they have two pair of appendages. Okay, forelimbs are there, hind limbs are there in pairs, and digits are without claws. Okay, you can see here in the picture there are digits, that finger like structure. Okay, they are without claws, they do not have claws. Okay, they are like smooth, their claws or nails are absent on their digits. See, exoskeleton is absent. You can see their skin, they do not have any hard covering, it is soft and slimy. Okay, so exoskeleton is absent. Skin is without any derivative and usually kept moist for respiration. Okay, so these amphibians, they don't have hair, scales or feathers covering their body. That's why it is said exoskeleton is absent. They have bare and moist skin. They use the skin to breathe as well. Got it? So that's why the skin is soft and slimy. Usually they have mucus gland to keep their skin moist. Okay? See the next characteristic. External ear is absent, but tympanum is present. Now you know, students, you know, if we take our example, we have ear, isn't it? We have external ear like structure by which we are able to hear, isn't it? But in case of amphibians, see, external ear is not there, but can you see this structure? That is called tympanum. Now tympanum, what it does, it is found just behind the eyes. Okay, see, just behind the eyes. And what is its function? It function as the ears of the frog. What it does, it receives sound waves both above and below water, allowing the frog to hear. Okay, so it is the tympanum which helps the frog to hear. They are acting or functioning like the ears of the frog. Got it? So that was external ear is absent but tympanum is present. See the next characteristic. Neck is absent. Okay, you can see in the pig. There is no neck. Okay, so body is not divided into like head, neck, and other parts. Okay, so neck is absent. You can see head is there, and directly the trunk body is there. Neck is absent. Eyes are prominent with eyelids. You can see how eyes are popping out, isn't it? So they are prominent with eyelids. Can you see this eyelids? Eyelids are present. Now see, eyelids that can blink, protect, what it does, it protects the frog eyes from dust and dehydration. Okay, so dust, it protects the dust and soil particles or other any material from entering into their eyes. And dehydration, that means it prevents the loss of water, it keeps the eyes moist. Okay, in addition to upper and lower eyelids, a third transparent eyelid called nictitating membrane, okay, called nictitating membrane covers each eyeball, and join the lower eyelid. So three eyelids are present in frog. Okay, you can see upper eyelid, lower eyelid, and one is nictitating membrane is there. Okay, transparent eyelid. So three eyelids are present in frog. This membrane keeps the eyelid moist and protects it when it is under water. So when it is under water, what happens? It covers the eyes and protects the water entering, protects the eyes from water entering into their eyes. Got it? So eyes are prominent with eyelids. See the different examples. Different example is frog, toad, salamander, newt, etc. Okay, these are the few examples I have mentioned. See, there are other animals also which are able to live in water and on land also, but they are not included in amphibia, isn't it? So we will study why they are not included in amphibia. Okay, what difference is there? So you have to remember these are the few examples I have mentioned, and you have to practice the diagram of frog. Okay, frog diagram is given in your textbook also. So various examples of class amphibia are frog, toad, salamander, newt. Got it? Now this was, see, today we have studied about the phylum Chordata and its classification into three subphylum, that is Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. Vertebrata is divided into 6 classes, and in today's session we have covered about class Cyclostomata, class Spices and class Amphibia. The remaining 3 classes we will study in the next session, that is tomorrow. Okay, and we will discuss some important questions related to the topic in tomorrow's session. Now students, if you have any doubt about today's session, today's topic, you can unmute and ask me. Yes students, if you have any doubt, you can ask me. Yes ma'am, can they unmute themselves? If they have doubt, they can ask me. Hello? Hello? Ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
If they have doubt, they can ask me.
Yeah, students, raise your hands if you're having doubts. Students, unmute yourself.
No doubts?
Ma'am, they are raising hand, but they are not unmuting themselves. I think they are not having doubts. By mistake, they must have raised their hands.
Okay. Shall I wind up?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Shall I play the video?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, students. For today, we'll wind up over here. Thank you, ma'am.